Should this presenter be named in the House of Commons?
No, I wouldn't name him. I think it's obviously a very sensitive and difficult story for the BBC. It's developments overnight which suggest there are some complications, some disputes in versions of events. I think the most important thing is that this is thoroughly investigated. The BBC look into this all properly and they should be allowed to get on with that. I don't think it's helpful for politicians to be offering and running commentary or making statements in the House of Commons about who this person might be or not be. There's obviously, I mean, there's real people involved in this who are clearly very upset about what's happened, and I think the BBC needs to be given the space to get on with it and do a proper investigation.
I mean, I don't personally care who the presenter is. I care about the family and this young person, and the fact that the parents say that they had contacted the BBC 2 months ago and nothing was done, another payment was made to their child before the son got involved. What's at the heart of it for you?
I mean, I agree with you on that. I mean, what we've heard is quite shocking. And it's very serious, but that's why the BBC need to do a proper, thorough investigation into this very serious set of allegations and stories. We need to get to a full explanation as to why things were not acted upon when these points were put to the BBC. I just don't think in the end it's going to be helpful if politicians are standing up in the House of Commons today making statements about it. The BBC must get on and investigate this properly.
What if it transpires they knew 7 weeks ago and did nothing?
Well, then they've got to explain. They've got to explain what went on, who knew what, why no action was taken. But at the moment, we're all just speculating because we don't know. I mean, the BBC need to do a proper investigation and they need to answer all these questions.
Son feeling the heat this morning over suggestions that they were approached by a lawyer representing this child, and they chose to ignore what they were saying. Do you think they have a case to answer?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it's why it's becoming more complicated, this, with versions of events being disputed and different suggestions coming from different directions. Again, look, we're not going to know until the BBC carry out a proper investigation, are we? I mean, at the moment, it's just politicians speculating, offering a commentary, which I don't think is very helpful in itself. So, I mean, and I'm sort of giving you the same version of the same answer, or different versions, I beg your pardon, of the same answer, but in the end, that is the correct answer. The BBC have to investigate all of this properly and explain what's gone on.
Let me just ask you one final question on this, and then I'll move on to other topics. Other BBC presenters are getting their names dragged through the mud because this presenter has chosen not to come forward of his own volition. If you were sat round the the shadow cabinet table, and you finding yourself in a similar position, you'd be furious.
Well, I can see it's a very human response for those other presenters to want to be able to sort of reassure people that it's not them. And again, look, these are matters for the BBC, and again, it's why the BBC needs to get on with this. Absolutely, it's clearly a terrible situation for the family. For the young individual involved, for the presenters who are entirely innocent, whose names have been dragged through the mud over social media in recent days and feel that they had to put out some clarification that it's not them. But again, I come back to this central point. We are all speculating. We don't really know what's gone on. We don't know why the BBC didn't act when allegations were put to them. We don't know what the rights and the issues around this stuff that's happened overnight with the lawyers saying something else and so on. We have to have a thorough investigation getting to the bottom of all of this. OK,
and should politicians get involved with that? Or is it a BBC thing?
I mean, obviously it's appropriate for the Secretary of State, who is responsible for media, to speak to the BBC. It may well be appropriate for the relevant select committee in Parliament through their channels to make representations, to ask questions. I'm not sure if it's appropriate for a politician to stand up in the House of Commons this afternoon. Well, I don't think it's appropriate for a backbench politician to stand up in the House of Commons this afternoon and make some, to insert themselves into this story.
OK, wage inflation figures. What does that tell us, what we've heard today?
I think it tells you that inflation is still squeezing wages. I mean, wages have been squeezed now, I think, for 19 months in a row. Unemployment is ticking up. It's why, for example, we're saying that we need to get more people back into work. So I'm putting forward reforms today to the job centres. I'm suggesting you could use modern technology, AI, to improve the way in which we get unemployed people back into work. At the moment, the job centre gets 6% of unemployed people into work after 9 months. I think if we make better use of AI and technology in our job centres, we could actually get people back to work sooner and quicker. And the key thing is we've got to grow our economy, make our economy more productive, and that's one of the ways in which we will tame inflation.
Okay, it's good to see you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.